In studio with the fellas to explore, and guys, for what we just saw from the offensive side for Philadelphia, felt like defense was the story of this football game. What did that Philadelphia defense do to muddy the looks and make things so difficult on Jared Goff and the Lions offense tonight, Matt?
They collapsed the pocket. They made Jared Goff second guess himself, and the rhythm never was established from start to finish. When you look at the Detroit Lions passing game, it has a lot to do with rhythm-like throws. Jared Goff could never get into a rhythm, and hats off to Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. They were outstanding tonight in coverage. When you look at Jared Goff as a team, Detroit-wise, they were 3 of 13 on third down, 0 for 5 on fourth down opportunities. That's not Detroit Lions football. And Vic Fangio has his team rolling right now. You look at what they've done over the last 2 weeks, playing against playoff caliber teams with really, really good quarterbacks. Last week in the Green Bay Packers, they allowed 7 points. Tonight, against Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, only 9 points. They're playing some of their best football right now in the month of November.
Pat P, we're looking at 14 of 37 for Jared Goff, a 38% completion percentage, the lowest of his career. Dan Campbell did not throw a pass in this game, but how much of this maybe was a little bit of a disconnect with the play caller?
I won't necessarily say it was a disconnect with the play caller. I would say the offensive line really let the Detroit Lions down this tonight. Wasn't able to run the ball, wasn't able to protect Jared Goff. I talked about in our pregame show, if they was going to able to give him a clean pocket, he should be able to deliver the ball down the field. And the Philadelphia Eagles must have paying close attention to us before the game, because they did not give Jared Goff any time or any freedom to really deliver the ball down the field and be as prolific as the Detroit Lions offense have been. So hats off to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Certainly so. They found some yardage in this one, much in the form of Jahmyr Gibbs, the dual threat that he is. But game management also becomes a question as well. We see them take 3 points late in this game, but if you do the math on 0 for 5 on fourth down, 3 of those coming in field goal range, JJ, it's simple math, but it's not simple decisions. We know what Dan Campbell's MO is. What did you make of that 0 for 5 on fourth down?
Yeah, I didn't like the fake punt that they tried earlier in the game. I think that was the second or third fourth down attempt that they had. Didn't like that. They are who they are, right? The Detroit Lions, it doesn't matter what side of the 50 they're on. If it's 4th and 3 or 4, they'll go for it. And they have gone for it more times than any other team in the NFL ever since Dan Campbell got to Detroit. So it's not a huge surprise. Also, a little bit windy. You weren't sure if you were going to be able to make a 50-ish yard field goal. Of course, late in the game, they make a 54-yard field goal. Maybe with that information earlier, they would have chosen to kick. But to your point earlier, B-Mac, Jared Goff was in hell. He was in absolute hell in Philadelphia. I know a lot of people say they're in hell when they go to Philadelphia. Jared Goff was in hell in Philadelphia. You know, it was a 45-degree night when they kicked off. You add in the wind as the game got a little later. It certainly got colder. Jared Goff looked like he was from California out there because he was off. You asked the question to Pat about if he was there was a disconnect with the play caller. There was a disconnect from Jared Goff's body to when he threw the football
leaving his hand.
Right. Nothing looked crisp, nothing looked sound. He had quietly put together a pretty solid season so far. He did not look good at all tonight.
Yeah, on the fringes of some of those MVP conversations. But as you were exploring some of that 0 for 5 on fourth, I heard just the exhales of the traditionalist amongst us, and you could see by the look on his face, Mac. I'd like your take here on 0 for 5 on fourth.
At some point in time, it's okay to attempt to get points for Dan Campbell in a game where field goals would feel like touchdowns because of how the defensive units were playing. It's okay, and you took a 50-ish yarder in the fourth quarter, and he made it. Let's see, can he find a way to make that 40-plus yarder. But when you talked about that fourth down decision, the fake punt, the most confusing thing about that, Pat, Philly, they were in safe defense. Anytime you see this hand signal coming from the sidelines of the players on the football field in a fourth down opportunity, that means the defensive unit is going to stay on the football field. One player, usually that safety or strong safety, comes off so the returner can come in. What we're doing in safe is we're looking for fakes. You have defensive linemen that have been born to rush the passer. That's their responsibility. That's why that play didn't work. That's why it didn't work. And for Dan Campbell, for the first time, well, this is his second time calling plays.
Yeah.
But in this moment, it felt like he had too much on his plate.
Yeah.
Because now you're calling plays, you're trying to make sure your adjustments, you're trying to have the next play ready, and you're making these critical decisions in when to go for it and what to call. When you saw safe punt, if you had a fake punt on, you call it off.
Yeah.
That's when you call it off and say, let's punt the football because we can't complete this with their defensive unit. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis or whoever is out there collapsing the A and B gaps. It didn't make any sense.
A lot of responsibilities right now for OCDC, who his Lions looked a bit thunderstruck in this one.
I like what you did.
I had to try one there. Let's keep on because we are professionals. Pat P., let's close the loop here on A.J. Brown. 11 targets, 7 receptions. The yardage not where you want to see it, but a big piece of this offensive game plan for the Eagles through the air was Arthur Juan.
I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but anytime A.J. Brown is coming into the tabloids and the media, they find a way to try to get him involved early.
Scripted.
You know what I mean? So he definitely got more active, but still around his, year average with 49 yards. You know what I mean? So he didn't have that big game that he was looking for, but he definitely got a lot more attention. So hopefully they can get that, chemistry down pat so they can get it moving in the right direction towards getting geared up for the playoffs.
I don't know if you want to say the ends justify the means in the way that he got the football, but when we watch this guy play the position, there are few stronger at the catch point in the league,
Yeah.
JJ.
I mean, the ball just, there's a magnetism to it all, and it just sticks right there, like really strong magnets. It's remarkable to watch A.J. Brown do that work. They were forcing the ball to him. I would have to imagine, without knowing what the play call was in the huddle, I'm certain that there were more plays called for A.J. Brown, that the pressure was getting to Jalen Hurts a little bit. Let's not forget, Jalen Hurts ultimately was down 2 offensive linemen by the end of the game. He lost his center in Juergens there at the end of the game, but more importantly, earlier in the game, he lost his right tackle in Lane Johnson. That's going to limit what you are able to do as the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's also give respect and due credit to the Detroit Lions, to their defense and defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard. So, those aren't just random dudes over there. So this was not, after all the talk of A.J. Brown and how this offense is going to have to be better if they're going to win in January. All of that is true. But I saw good glimmers of this, right? Saquon Barkley didn't break one off necessarily, had some nice runs. Yeah, Jalen Hurts was looking for A.J. Brown, and when they did connect, it did work out. I don't think, even though people are going to look at the stats in this and say, ooh, the offense didn't do that well, I didn't feel that way necessarily tonight.
Yeah, Devontae Smith, only 1 reception here. Saquon Barkley, about 3 and change per pop. It's not humming just yet. It's not clicking on all cylinders, but did you see signs that they are working in the right direction in the form of A.J. Brown?
Yeah, the targets were there, the receptions were there, the yards per reception clearly not up to his standard because of what type of player he is, but the volume increased. I think it's very, very important for Kevin Patullo, the OC, to understand what he has because they have dudes. They have dudes. Even with the injuries on the offensive line, you still have high-level players at the quarterback, running back, pass catching, in tight end position where you should be able to establish a sense of balance. There's no creativity in their offense. Last week we saw a sense of blandness last week against the Green Bay Packers, but their defense balled out, brought them home. Tonight, it was a little bit better, but it was their defense that balled out and brought them home. You could accept that if you're talking about an offense that lacks star power, right, where you might have just that one guy. Like a Buffalo Bills and a James Cook and some other guys that you're trying to figure out.
Let's see some concepts for the talent you have.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you look at what the Rams are doing with their dudes, Kyrie Williams, Puka, Devontae, there's creativity. And that's what you would think you would have now, but it seems like Kevin Patullo is still trying to figure things out. Remember what Kellen Moore was doing with this team last year when they found their stride, right? And it took some time for him, but when he found his stride, they were soaring. They were flying.
Both of these teams dealing with changes at the coordinator positions. A closing thought here on Detroit, who, from a points output, it's one of the lowest we've seen in the last 3 seasons. This 9 points, left one out there after a silly penalty by Jamison Williams on their lone touchdown of the game. They fall to 3rd place in the NFC North, Pat P. A lot of football to be played and a lot of NFC North football yet to be played. But Is there a lingering concern, or is this just a team that you are confident to get it ironed out when it matters most?
I think I'm pretty confident in that this team will get it ironed out. But they are in, unfamiliar territory right now within the last, 2 years of being the division leaders. The Chicago Bears are playing some really good football right now. Your Chicago Bears playing some really good football right now, 7-3. Got a big game coming up. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ben Johnson and his crew handle the success.
Yeah.
But I do have all the faith in the world that Detroit will figure it out at the end.
And then you got a talented Green Bay football team right there as well, playing high-level defense, but offense once again. It seems like a league-wide issue, withstanding a couple of places where defenses are standing up for these elite teams. Offenses maybe lagging just a bit, Mac.
When it comes to Detroit, I foresee them getting into the playoffs. I don't know if they will have the luxury they had a year ago, being at home. And that is a concern for me because you hit on something with the weather.
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff seemed like he never could get comfortable, and it wasn't really cold like that. I mean, we're talking about in the mid-40s.
Right.
All right. In January football, depending on where you're going, especially if you have to go on the road to a la Chicago.
Philadelphia.
Chicago. Green Bay.
These are not fun places to be in January.
No question. So these are games right now that could really make you look back on and say, this is why we got to go where we got to go. You look at the rest of their schedule, they got the Giants, right? Green Bay, Dallas, the Rams, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Chicago. They finished the season out playing 2 divisional teams.
At Chicago,
At Chicago. Seeding can be very, very important with all of these games that we're talking about right now. And I look at all the playoff caliber teams, I feel like Detroit is the one team because of the quarterback I don't have a lot of faith in if he has to go on the road outside.
Yeah, no, tonight was a big tell.
Yeah.
Tonight was a very big tell for Jared Goff because, again, he didn't look right in a whole season where he looked really good. And we got to credit Jordan Davis and we got to credit Jalen Carter. But, Jahmyr Gibbs, the cold wasn't affecting Jahmyr Gibbs. His stop-start, all that was working just fine. Jared Goff, absolutely the weather impacted him. And if in January the Lions are on the road and they're back in Philadelphia, for example, I can already tell you who I'm taking.
I don't see any targets for Mother Nature, but her impact felt here on this night as the Detroit Lions can't get one sorted on Philly. Eagles 8-2, the going rate, back-to-back seasons starting that way. Last year felt a bit more dominant, offense clicking on all cylinders. This year,
That race getting sticky.
not just that, but it's a results-based business. No results better than the Eagles and the Rams right now. The Bears will end Week 11, leaders in the NFC North for the first time since 2020.